We finally got this drop section of our drum and bass to a place that I'm proud of. I think I will actually, with things that will actually stick in the track, and not just be experimental. I've been working for about an hour and 20 minutes here. I'll just play you the drop as it is right now. Here's what we got. You know, honestly, like there's a lot to work on, there's a lot to improve on, but I'm pretty happy with the bones of that. Where I haven't been very happy with the bones up until this point. The main thing that needs to be worked on right now is that the kick is getting completely lost in the bass. If I turn off the bass here, the kick is so much more present. And I don't have any sidechain compression going on, which is the main thing. But I think I'm going to try and not sidechain compress, and I'm actually going to go buy LFO tool. Because sidechain compression feels so roundabout to me when what I want is I want this to basically not be happening when this is happening. And LFO tool is like exactly that. So I think we'll definitely do that. But to kind of walk through how I got to this spot here, I cleaned up a lot. That the graveyard here is full of so much stuff that we did while experimenting, and already I have some things that need to be moved up into there. I'm really happy to be at a place where I feel like I can hear a sound and try to create it, but not quite at the spot yet where we're making sounds where I'm like, oh yeah, that's great, let's use that. But as far as like how I chose to approach doing this today, once I kind of like cleaned up the drums a little bit, I dropped the snare sample a little bit. I then moved over the Shining Fuzz lead that I knew we were going to kind of build things around. This is that nugget of an idea. If you remember us following the metric formula in section 2, you introduce some idea that you bring back up in the drops. I'm like, okay, cool, that's this melody. Let's just pull it over here. This probably won't be drop 1. This will be melody drop. We'll move this over to melody drop. You heard me kind of like when I played it for you earlier. I played it through once without the melody, then a second time with the melody. That was trying to kind of simulate that the first drop will be without the melody and the second drop will be with. But for right now, where I'm kind of like coming up with the ideas, I just moved the melody in here and then started to build around that. The first thing I added actually was this pad that I thought was a really cool sound. This is a tool I really want to learn more about, this eDNA. It's got a lot of really funky stuff it can do. I have no idea what's going on in this patch. And I don't even understand how this is laid out, so I'm going to watch some tutorials, but I've used this before. This is a thing that came with Albion 1, and it's really powerful, especially for percussion. I think this will be really useful for breakbeats in drum and bass, but I just found that sound, and then I just put this tremolo and compressor on top of it. So by default, it sounds like there's a bit of tremolo going on in this. Put this one on top of it. Out of phase. It's going dig, 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 between the two different ears. And then I put in this bass. I am really proud of myself today because a lot of the learning I've been doing about how synthesizers work is paying off in big ways. A lot of times I will find a preset and I'll be like, I like this preset except for this one thing. I don't like this thing here, or I wish this thing was slightly different. And then I look at all the knobs and I don't know where to go. Today I was like, this was cool. This is what I think it sounded like coming in today. I was like, I really like this bass. It's really that edge on the front is really good, but I was like, I want it to kind of like have a little bit more of like that step filter kind of thing I was talking about. So I was able to turn on this comb negative filter here and then automate with a sequencer that I just built. I just kind of threw down some random pitches in here on this sequencer, pulled it in to automate the note cutoff, which is kind of like the cutoff, and then I did a second one where I built this LFO in a triangle shape to move around this send. I'm not exactly positive what this is doing, but I like the sound. I like the way it sounded. I think it's kind of like a parallel thing. I'm not quite sure, but when I moved the knob, it sounded good. And having those kind of go at different speeds, where ones go da 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 da, and then I'm going do. I think helps out you're not get as tired of either of those movements as quickly. So then. So it's cool. But the thing I am most proud of was this last sound, which I think is a really great sound. There was two things I did to this. By default, this sounded more like that. I just put this Valhalla Supermassive on it with it turned to mostly just be the high, so it creates just a lot of shimmer up at the top. I think that really... And now, actually, I think that is the least pretty sounding is the Shining Fuzz. I think these two together are... That's a really good pad atmosphere. But the thing I'm most proud about this isn't just putting some reverb on it. The thing is that this was another sound that when I found it, I was like, oh, this is great, but it's not quite right. But on the last one, it was like, it's good, but I wanted to have more motion, and so I put a filter on top of it. And with this one, it was being filtered, but I wanted the filter to be a little bit slower. And I had to sit there and watch it as it was going. And so I was like, okay, so it's the filter, right? The thing is that I wanted the filter when it goes, I wanted it to take a little bit longer. It was going a lot more like, and I was like, well, how do I do that? And so I'm like, I'm pretty sure as you watch it, it's this. You can see it getting, and then it goes back, and then it goes back up. And it was going twice as fast when I found it. And so I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure it's this knob. I'm pretty sure it's this knob's the one I need. And there's a couple different things automating it here. The first one is this ADSR, which is what's giving it that kind of like the bouncing like around. And then there's this triangle LFO. That's the second thing. And I moved this from 2, it was at 2. So this is what it sounded like at first. I was like, that's too fast. And I was like, oh wait, so if I just do this, scroll it to 4. And that was exactly what I wanted. It just felt so good to be able to look at all of this and be like, wait, I know where that thing is that I need to change. I need to change the rate of the LFO, of the second LFO that's controlling the overall filter. That'll give me exactly the sound I wanted. And I was able to find it, and it was exactly the sound I wanted. And so I was able to make this. And honestly, I don't think you need this cool pad here. It's nice. Like this, it just adds so much space by itself. So obviously the mix is not great with the percussion and the bass kind of covering each other up there, but I was happy with where this got to, and it gives me a thing to aim for now as we try to build out of here. Also, having this pad here, I think will be really helpful at the beginning, where right now this pad is kind of boring. It's kind of a boring pad. I think if we layer in this and kind of have them like fade in between the two a little bit, so like mix it in, I think it'll be great. So yeah, good day. Glad to be doing that. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.